All right, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. We're here at the 2014 Woodstock Fruit Festival. And what I'll be doing in some of these upcoming videos that I'll be sharing with you guys is I'm going to be actually interviewing some of the different presenters, also known as the pioneers here, and share some of the topics that they've taught here at the Woodstock Fruit Festival because you guys were not able to be here. And one of the ones we're going to get into today is with Dr. Robert Lockart, who's been into a plant-based raw diet for the last 25 years. And he gave a talk simply entitled, basically the differences between raw till 4 and 100% raw. So, I didn't get to see that talk personally because I was busy doing a lot of other stuff here, but I did see some parts of it that's available online. And this basically, brought some questions up for me that I want to ask him, and that's what I'll be sharing with you guys today. But before we get into this specifically, asking him some of the questions about the specific talk he gave, I want you guys to become more familiar with Dr. Robert Lockart because, who a person is will basically tell you a lot about what he's going to say and why he's going to say it. So, Dr. Robert Lockart, how would you like to introduce yourself, to my audience, let them know about your previous health history, your and all your experience in this field particularly?
Thank you, John. I love your enthusiasm. That you can't help but be enthusiastic when you're next to John because he just promotes that. And that's what brings up a raw lifestyle too, is the enthusiasm and the zest for living, which is a result of being 100% raw. I've always been a person that didn't like compromises, and I guess it depends on the individual's personality and that sort of thing. I didn't learn about a more healthful diet until I was about 23, 24, and I was bulked up doing a lot of big sport like rugby union playing and contact sports, and a member of the surf life-saving movement in Australia, and I was eating too high a protein, too high a fat type of diet, cooked diet there, and my health started to break down, my hair started to fall out. I was, both knees were affected badly with arthritis, and my right knee especially, which they wanted to operate on, but I didn't want to go that route. And I learnt about, I don't want to spend too much time talking about that aspect of it, but basically I changed my diet from eating high fat, high protein, meat-based and starch-based breads and that sort of thing to a more rational plant-based type of diet. Some of it at that stage was still including cooked, and I'd met my partner then, and she had switched from a similar type of diet to eating a more living foods type of diet. Included a lot of sprouts, alfalfa. We were the first to bring the idea of sprouting back to Australia back in the mid 70s.
Wow.
So I've been around talking about these things for a long time, except I've been on the other side of the world usually. But the long and the short of it was that we had a beautiful marriage where she was committed to quite a bit of cooked food in her diet, and I was more tending towards to go raw, but still a lot of salads and that sort of thing. Then we got a property that I had for 27 years, which I grew 100 different varieties of fruit trees, and durians was one of the big fruits that I was growing in tropical Australia there. And but my wife was committed to a more cooked food type of diet, and it was great, but we led sort of parallel lives towards the end of our marriage, and I think that's what led me to the schism of saying that if you want to compromise and just include some cooked food in your diet, you will eventually suffer consequences. Not that I won't suffer some consequences, I'm who knows, but all I know is that she has got some health problems now which are fairly serious, whereas I seem to be, and she's a lot younger than me, 6 years younger, and she led the same type of life that I did for about 30 years while we were married. And she, I won't go into the actual details, but that's she was on a raw till 4 virtual diet, and the consequences later in life are fairly serious.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what really led me into the into being able to say with conviction from my own life what the consequences are of a raw till 4 versus 100% raw.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's a really big story, just to let you guys know his past with his ex-wife and whatnot. Dr. Robert Lockart, how long have you been raw, and what on your style of raw foods diet, what do you specifically eat, to let the people out there know, because not all raw food diets are created equal by any means.
No, that's true. I've been raw for 25 years now, and I don't it's difficult when you go out to a social situation like a restaurant or wherever, but most high-class restaurants, they'll give you a fruit platter, and you don't have to eat the cheese that sometimes comes along with it. So you can still be involved in social sort of aspects, but basically my diets consisted of, I live in a tropical area, so I can have coconuts, I can have a wide variety of tropical fruits, and it's rather unusual in the respect that our area of North Queensland was the favoured site for a lot of adventurous young hippies from America predominantly, sending seeds back to that area of North Queensland back in the early 80s and late 70s, which resulted in the seeds coming from the Amazon, from Central America, from Southeast Asia, from endangered areas even of Africa and the Caribbean, which were being encroached on by human civilization and destroying so much of the rainforest, etc. And so luckily, I would have to say quite honestly, we do have probably the widest range in the smallest area of a real tropical area of a wide range of tropical fruit. That they're ranging from chocolate pudding fruits to abiyus, jabotic carbas. I could go on for quite a long time on the fruit aspect of it, but just when you've got that wide range, you're able to thrive probably a lot better than you would be if you're buying store-bought fruit up in Canada or northern part of England or Europe,
So Dr. Lockhart, would it be fair to say that you eat the majority of your diet is tropical fruits with maybe some other kind of fruits mixed in when you're traveling, for example, and maybe some greens and vegetables sometimes?
Yeah, I don't eat that many greens. Greens are a great source of minerals, okay? And as you get older, you require less food, and as you get on, the longer you stay on this diet, the less food you require. The reason is your body becomes more efficient at handling a given quantity of food. And Dr. Graham always says that, for example, you choose a car for the gas mileage it gets. That if you get more efficient use of a given amount of gas from that car, it's going to be a better car to have.
Yeah.
And it's the same with your body.
I
if you
see.
get a more efficient use of energy from a given amount of food, you're going to be well ahead of the game, But you've got to bring other aspects of the lifestyle into it in order to increase that efficiency too. And I should mention at this stage that intermittent fasting or withholding food for short periods of time just does gradually force your body to become more and more efficient. So you'd never see, 80, 90 or 100-year-old sort of fat people that are gluttons.
So Dr. Lockhart, the next question is, what was your intention with the lecture you gave called Raw Till 4 as compared to 100% raw? Like, why did you want to give that lecture in the first place?
Mainly because I was sensing that at the festival here, there's a lot of people that are still struggling with giving up cooked foods. They'd like to actually get on the 100% raw type of diet, because they do see with Dr. Graham and myself and Don Bennett and yourself the benefits of being 100% raw. You seem to think clearer. You require actually less sleep, so you've got more productive hours in the day. If you're going to be spending 8 or 10 hours a day sleeping because you're still eating cooked, that doesn't seem to be a real productive use of your time, because we're only all here for an allotted period of time on the earth, and therefore if we can make more beneficial use of that time, that's really essential. So those were my reasons, really. Not for any. I'm not really into all the. Apparently, there's been some controversy about the raw till 4 thing and everything like that. But I can only speak from my own personal experience, and I haven't been involved in any of the controversy about whether you should be on raw till 4 or not. I'm just saying that if you want optimal results, you've got to be 100% raw, and it depends if you don't. If you feel as though you'd rather compromise a little bit by eating a cooked meal every day, you're not going to actually get the benefits that you would if you had gone 100% raw, no matter what. And I'm quite adamant about that, because I lived it with my own partner for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I can see what's happened.
Wow. So another thing I want to mention to you guys, if you guys were able to come to the Woodstock Fruit Festival here, when you come here, they only feed you 100% raw, fruit-based plant diet, and you will feel the effects. So whether they're on raw till 4, all the people that came here that are on raw till 4, guess what? For a week, they're eating all raw. And I've heard from some of them already that came up to me and talked to me, they're feeling better than when they ate some cooked food. And now that they're back home, some of the people that just came in week 1, you know, they went back to their old ways and eating cooked foods. And now they really feel like, you know, being on all raw, your energy level is so high, and then when they eat cooked foods, it like chunked down and it stole their energy. Like they didn't feel like getting out of bed. They had more time to use, to spend with their family, to do work or whatever they want. I mean, I think this is what Dr. Robert Lockart is really trying to get after, to kind of to let you guys know that there are different ways if you want to do it, if you want to do it.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Robert Lockart, let's get into some good coconut meat questions here. Don't recommend the other kind of meat. So, are all cooked foods equally bad in your opinion?
No, I wouldn't say. Some lightly steamed vegetables, not as bad as fried. Anything fried, any protein that's been deaminized and changed so much. You've got to realize that cooking does actually alter the molecular structure of that food that you're eating, and the caramelization of carbohydrates does take place. It's just putting more strain on your body. And why put that extra strain on your body? You've got enough strain dealing with the 21st century and the stress and that sort of thing. Why add more, you know? That's all I'm saying virtually with that. See, the cooking aspect, it's a hassle too. It's so much easier to get on and get. You don't have to worry about cleaning stoves up and endless hours of washing and preparing and all that sort of stuff. You know, it frees you up so much more beneficially. So there's lots of other aspects that I'm sure that most people inherently know. We're usually cooking something in order to make it more, shall we say, palatable to be able to eat. But are those substances that we're cooking really suited to our body or not? Is it something which our body is designed to eat? It's not designed to eat rice or little grains or stuff that grows below the ground. It's designed to eat tropical fruits. That's what it comes down to, you know. And the occasional greens, sure, are necessary for the mineralized side of things, but I find as I've lived longer eating those sort of things, like just the tropical fruits and the coconuts and drinking coconut water, that you actually do lose your desire to eat. No, John, I've got to ask you this. For example, green leaves, are they as desirable to eat as a beautiful mango or a meringue, or these different types of fruits that you find in tropical areas. And I do find myself sometimes maybe overeating on those type of things, but it doesn't seem to harm your body too much if you do tend to overeat. But if you overeat on cooked food, you feel pretty bad, you know, and you don't function too well the next day. So quite frankly, the test you should do on yourself, go 3 months raw, 100%, then try eating some cooked food. See what your body tells you. Okay? That's the test.
Robert, Dr. Lockhart is putting that all to you guys out there, you know, try 3 months all raw, then cook some stuff, eat it. See how you feel, man. That's the biggest test. And, you know, I'm almost guarantee you're going to feel different. No, but once again, you know, this question was, are all cooked foods equally bad? So, of course, you know, in my opinion, I'm just going to chime in here with a little bit. You know, like the frying is the worst. Microwaving, really changing the molecular structure, bad. Cooking things, baking things at high temperature, really bad. The best ways, if you do want to cook your food, is boiling or steaming. Lightly steaming. So, Dr. Lockhart, what are some of the worst offending cooked foods that definitely should not be eaten by the viewers out there watching this?
Worst offending cooked foods. Well, probably if you're going to any of the multitude of fast food type of restaurants that have been food that's been processed and changed from its original form. The more it's subjected to change through chemicalization, through heating, through being able to make it artificially sweet, which, you know, the more that it has been changed, the worse it probably is. You know, the more chemicals added, whatever. Whole simple diets were all the norm, say 100 years ago. We had about 3 different combinations. You were eating a little bit of meat and some potato and some greens usually, you know. It was just that. But our diets now are so complicated, so many additives, that the more processed and the more fractionated the food, that is the more you should actually try and stay away from it, quite frankly. So I'm not saying that there's meat is worse than, say, having pasta or, see, it's so long since I've been really in actual contact with those type of stuff that I'm not right up on what really is available today, so I'm not the best person to ask, but you've got to be the best judge there of being able to say, no, look at that food, read those labels, look at the way it's been heated, look at the way it's got these additives, and look at the way it's been subjected to pesticides. Look, you know, that is going to affect you more than a whole food that is reasonable, maybe like a potato that's slightly steamed or something, if you're still into cooked, you know.
Right.
Yeah, so that's probably my answer to that one.
All right.
The more fractionated, the more altered, the more you should stay away from it. You know?
I mean, I'd probably agree with them. I think the more fractionated things are, the more processed, you know, before refined, and we want to focus on like whole foods, not refined and processed foods and animal foods. Definitely. All right, Robert, so what are some of the best cooked foods that somebody could be eating if they choose to eat, you know, some cooked foods?
Right, yeah, the best. Well, there's a compromise, John. You're asking me to compromise again. That's just not my natural.
Tried to sneak that in there, Tim.
See? But, you know, just lightly steamed veggies would be quite good, because really the cooked food thing is a habit. So the best, I would say, just some lightly steamed type of vegetables with maybe a little bit of onions and garlic and those sort of seasonings and spices. They're also detrimental too. But very some greens that you grow that might be chives or those little baby greens, great to have, just as to add a bit of spice to a lightly steamed vegetable thing that you might make. And I would have to say that I struggle a little bit, and if you ask me about recipes and that sort of thing, because I'm not really into recipes and the highly prepared type of food, which you you should transition to, and you go through that stage where we're always looking to titillate our taste buds and to make stuff taste a lot better than it probably would be in its natural state. But if you can derive something that's naturally delicious and beautiful, why try and make something that's not quite? Try and raise it to that level, because you're still going to be drawing the water. You see, cooking does dehydrate a lot. The water and the flavors and the enzymes in the food are all altered, and actually the alteration, it can never be put back, no matter how much you try and maybe add some more water or later on in the whole process. I know, for example, in Australia, the most popular shows are all these cooking shows around the place. I can't believe it, you know, and people get hooked on MasterChef and all these. It just shows you, it's kind of sad actually when it reaches that stage where people are fascinated by that, because if they're only fascinated by putting on weight and getting fatter, you know, what quality of life is that, you know, later on?
So, Dr. Robert, in your talk, you actually talked about cooked food being addiction. What did you exactly mean when you referred to cooked food as an addiction?
It means that it's like a siren call. It tends to drag you back. If you start letting a little bit of it into your life, it becomes a siren call to gradually you're only eating one cooked meal later in the day, and then sometimes it won't matter if I have some for lunch a little bit too, and that sort of thing. It seems to creep back in, and I think if you're wanting to look at fixing up any of your problems that may have resulted from going vegan in the first place and giving up the normal American lifestyle where we're eating such a wide variety of the wrong type of foods which aren't suited to our design, the letting that into your life is going to gradually increase over a period of time. It might be take years, but it comes back to the word addiction. Now, what's addiction? Coffee is kind of addictive. People feel, I can't get going without coffee in the morning. Cigarettes, they're addictive. And you know, I think we're the only species. I can't quite figure it out. People know that they're addictive, and they know that they're harming themselves. They know that they're going to come down with a serious health problem, and yet they continue to pursue that destructive way of life. Why is that? What's that in humans? I find that kind of interesting. What does it drive people to? Animals don't know that that they're going to be doing something which involves a destructive health diet or whatever. They just stick to what they're designed to stick to in their natural environment, and they live out their lives of long and healthy. We're actually only living really about half our lifetime when you figure out what the normal mammalian length of life should be, and but that's another topic in itself. So the addiction thing is, what is the word addiction? Most people in the Western world think about it, addicts, as being involved in drugs or maybe alcohol. He's addicted to alcohol, or addicted to heroin or cocaine or something like that. The addictive, the word addiction, sure, cooked food isn't that strong as being an addiction like a drug, but it still does contain opiates often. When, for example, rice. I go to the Philippines. I see the people eating 3 meals a day of rice there. They they say, "Oh, wow, you're eating only fruits. We've got beautiful fruits here, you know. Oh, yes, we can offer you this, we can offer you that. But I could never live like that. I can't give up rice. Oh, I'm addicted to it. I'm sorry, you know, I can't. Oh, I'd like to, you know, it'd be far more simpler. I wouldn't have to put up with the sprays that they spray on rice in order to make it grow, all the roundups and all the stuff. You should see it. You know, you've got to think about that too when you're eating a rice or a starch-based type of diet. The amount of inputs of the chemicals that they're putting on those so-called foods. They're not really foods. They're foods for animals. They're grasses and that, you know. That is a significant impact, which you're going to pay the price for, you know. And so the addictive things, they're mostly found, they are actually addictive in small quantities. Some of the opiates and the pectins that are found in a lot of the starches. So it's better not to be totally free. Be your own person, you know, where you're not being called back to eat. People's second thing is, with cooked food, the feeling of fullness, the feeling of the comfort. Ah, yes, I get a comfort. I find if I eat fruit, I appease my hunger, but it's gone in half an hour or whatever. That's okay. As you become more efficient, I generally don't eat till after the last meal that I have is usually 2:30 or about 3 o'clock during the day, and I sleep a lot better. I don't. But if you're eating a big meal at night, for example, with some cooked food, your body is dealing with that food all night, whereas it should be actually eliminating. It shouldn't be actually using up all that nerve energy in trying to digest a really big meal, you know. So you're better off if you can actually move. If you're still staying Rortal 4, what I'd advise with a Rortal, I'm actually a Rortal 4 person, I really am, but I just don't eat after 4 o'clock, so I'm raw during the day till 4, and then that's it, and it's great. It's the best type of diet. So if you want to go on that diet, go on Rortal 4, okay?
All right, Dr. Lockhart, so basically you're saying that cooked foods have an addictive qualities.
Yes.
Right, got it. So I would agree that some cooked foods have highly addictive qualities. I wouldn't say that all cooked foods have addictive qualities, because you did just hear us before this say that some cooked foods are better than others. I don't know how some steamed greens or other steamed vegetables could have addictive qualities, but definitely things like processed foods, animal foods with hormones, maybe even like, you know, things they put inside food to make it more addictive. I mean, in the food companies, they know these things, and they do it on purpose to you guys. If you guys want to become more familiar with some things in foods that are addictive, you know, there's a couple of good books that I could recommend. It's Breaking the Food Seduction by Dr. Neil Barnard. Another really excellent one that I'd actually recommend even before Neil Barnard's book is actually called The Pleasure Trap by Dr. Alan Goldhammer.
Yes. Really
excellent books. Talks about why some foods, not all, are addictive and, you know, can suck you back in. All right. So, Dr. Lockhart, I know many people out here are thinking this after hearing you say this, but are cooked foods as bad as smoking cigarettes?
No, they're not. Because your lungs aren't really designed to, they're designed to take up oxygen, and you're taking up nicotine and various other additives. I used to live in a tobacco growing area of Australia, and I know the stuff they spray on tobacco, and you're introducing that straight into your blood. So I'm just amazed that the human body can keep going as long as it can with the insults that are being thrown at it. No, they're not. They're definitely not as bad as that, obviously, but it comes back to what is optimal, and it comes back to what are you designed to eat. Now, if you're not designed to eat foods which have to be really altered by heat, by processing, etc., in order to make them palatable. You're designed to eat foods which are produced on a tree, which are falling when they're mature on the tree, and durian is one of them.
So Dr. Lockhart, like, so for me, what this sounds like is, for me, like, instead of me saying, like, I don't necessarily agree with that all cooked foods are addictive, I would say personally that, you know, there are many cooked foods, especially processed foods, animal foods are especially addictive, but not all. I would say more so that for me personally, I would say that like cooked foods can lead you with cravings for more of them.
Yeah, a lot of the time too, we haven't mentioned something here, John, and that is habit, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, habit. We're a slave to our habits. And if you've been brought up on bread since you were a little kid, which is wrong, you know, that habitual use of bread, and it's the same with cigarettes too. Because people say, "Oh, it's a habit," you know, I find it hard to break, but it's not actually a habit there with cigarettes. But it can be largely that with foods, and the cravings that a person feels are a result of the feelings that are produced by when they eat that type of food, and it temporarily goes away when they eat that type of food, and when that food is digested or passes away, they tend to get that, I feel okay now for a little while. That just shows to me that they're not feeling as good as they could for a start. They would feel a lot better if they were had the clarity of mind and been on a raw food type of diet. That would eliminate a lot of the cravings. So do the 3-month thing, and you'll find that your cravings for any of the cooked stuff after that gone. Okay?
All right, so the last question I have for you, Dr. Robert, is do you believe that cooked foods can be eaten in moderation healthfully?
Do I believe that cooked foods can be eaten in moderation healthily? Yes, it's a lot better to have a little bit of cooked food in your diet than to be eating a huge amount of animal fat or a huge amount of protein or whatever. And so a small amount, it's all a progression. But if you want the optimum, all I'm saying is, you know, you do have to move towards 100% raw. Quite frankly, that's what I've seen. If you'll still have niggling health problems if you're still eating some cooked. Yeah, people come up to me all the time and say, "Oh, Doc, why am I still have I still got this knee problem, or I've still got this prostate problem, or I've still got hemorrhoids, or I've still got a skin problem." And I've noticed it has improved a bit, but over the years, no, it's not gone. If you want to get rid of it, you've got to do the 100% raw, quite frankly. And that's just the, if you want to live with that, well, with the little niggling health thing, well, you can stay eating some of the cooked, but if you're wanting to really finalize it and get rid of it from your life, make the step, you know. The first step in a 1,000-mile journey is just as easy as saying that first week on raw, I'm just going to do it, and do it.
Wow.
You'll get there. Okay?
Wow. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. And I do encourage you guys to eat as much raw as you can. Do I encourage everybody to eat 100% raw? Absolutely not. It's definitely not for everybody. You know, if you want to do it, I try to teach you guys, and, you know, have people on like Dr. Robert Lockart here to teach you guys how to do this, how to do it sustainably. But of course, you know, you guys are going to do what you want to do, but I do want to give you guys options. So that's why I want to have Dr. Robert Lockart on to let you guys know the options. You know, in his options, there are options, and the best option obviously is to eat 100% raw. And, you know, maybe a compromise is to, you know, get away from all those heavily processed cooked foods, because we've told you that some cooked foods are worse than others. Once again, high heating of foods, microwaving foods, really bad. Eating highly processed foods, animal foods, really bad. And if you are going to cook some foods, you know, cook whole foods, you know, definitely the vegetables, leafy greens, really good at low temperatures, you know, and eat lots of raw. So as you guys just learned, you know, his statement, you know, cooked food is an addiction. Basically, I think he was trying to get at the point personally that, you know, there are properties of some cooked foods that are addictive for sure. That has been scientifically proven. And that's perfectly, you know, what I believe. You know, we also talked about cravings and habit. You know, a lot of people have a cooked food habit because this is something they've been done since the time they were born. And habits are hard to break, whether that's not brushing your teeth habit, whether that means, you know, I don't know, jamming your brakes when you're driving so you stop suddenly and you wear your brakes out. I mean, that could be considered a bad habit. Many different bad habits that people have, you know, and not even to put a judgment on a habit, you know, whether it's good or bad, it just may not be optimal, you know. So when I was dealing with getting off cooked foods, and even after being raw for a period of time, I did go back to cooked foods, and once again, you know, I found it lowered my energy level. And I also found for me that just something as benign as eating baked potatoes after I was all raw for a number of years and had some baked potatoes after a big breakup with a girlfriend and whatnot, like, number one, my energy went down. Number two, I felt it really hard to kind of break away. Not that it was an addiction, but I had cravings the next day after I had baked potatoes one night. I really wanted them and desired them the next night. And so I ate them again, you know, even though I knew it wasn't the best for me and I didn't want to do it, but that's what I did because I had cravings for these things. So maybe he's trying to say, you know, cooked foods, some of them, while maybe have addictive qualities, may just give you cravings. And, you know, once again, habits are hard to break, whether it's a good habit or a bad habit you have. And most people out there have a cooked food habit. And I'm not going to place a judgment on that because I'm not really into judgments and I'm not about all right or all wrong. There's always shades of gray, you know, but the main takeaway point from this video I want you guys to have, you know, in my opinion, is that, you know, a mostly all raw diet is probably one of the best things you could do for your health. And even if you don't get there, I don't care if you eat all raw, partly raw, raw till 4, raw till 5, raw till 6. What's more important for me is that you eat a 100% plant-based diet, right? We want to get rid of all the animal foods. I want you guys to get rid of all the processed foods. If you cannot recognize the food, what it is, right? If it doesn't grow in a tree, doesn't grow under the ground, doesn't grow, you know, in nature, we don't want to be consuming it. So I'm 100% for whole foods. I'm 100% for minimally processed foods. I'm 100% for, you know, processing your foods as minimally as possible to not create toxins. So once again, you know, frying the foods, broiling the foods, microwaving the foods, cooking the foods at high temperature, really not optimal in my opinion. It'd be far better if you did choose to cook your food, to steam it or boil it. And of course, you know, I recommend cooking up some of those plant foods that you would not normally eat. You know, it'd be much healthier in my opinion to, you know, steam up a whole bunch of kale and eat the kale than some of these decadent raw vegan desserts at some raw food restaurants that literally I feel ill after eating sometimes, right? So, you know, life is full of gradients and full of options for you guys. I just made this video simply for you guys to give you guys more options and to hear about, you know, Dr. Robert Lockhart's and a little bit of my opinions on the subject of if is cooked food an addiction or not. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and got some information out of this to help improve your life, because truly that's the only reason why I do these videos, is to just share what I've learned with you guys over all these years of me being into a raw foods diet for the last 19 years now. So once again, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, until then, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best. All right, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you coming in HD. We're here at the